Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Cassie. I had a request. I posted a picture on my Instagram of these 4 little altered paper clips, and I had a request to show you guys how to make them. So this is something that I kind of came up with on my own. I'm not sure if it's how other people do it or not. I've never watched a tutorial on how to make an altered paperclip. So I just want to share my process with you guys so you can use them in your own junk journals or happy mails or just whatever you want to use them for. So I'll show you one up close. You can see I stitched all the pieces together, but they're still very much loose and can move on their own. So I'll show you guys how to make that. I actually do glue them kind of like basting a quilt, so that the pieces don't move while I'm stitching. But on the back you can see I usually stitch a base ribbon that I actually attach to the paper clip. So this piece is separate from the base ribbon until I stitch it together. Or alternatively, I will stitch the base ribbon to the actual dangly part of the altered paper clip and then just glue the ribbon around the paper clip. And that's possibly easier. I think that's probably easier for someone just starting out maybe. So anyway, let's just get started. I'll kind of walk you through the elements that I use, although you can probably see. So I pick out a base piece of fabric, and I have some here. I'm just gonna make this red polka dotty fabric, and essentially I want it to be about the same width as my paper clip. So I'm just gonna move these ones out of the way so we can start over. Okay, so this is the selvage edge. I like the fraying, so I'm going to use the edge that's not the selvage. And I'm just going to cut a piece to roughly the length that I'd like. And you can always fray it later, just pull the end and it should fray a little bit. Here is the paper clip I'm going to use. Here's my base ribbon. This is just packaging ribbon, it was tied around some sheets or a duvet or something. And so I just keep it around to use for projects like this. You're not going to see the ribbon unless you're looking at the back. So I cut it to about the same width again as my paper clip. Okay. So those are the 2 base pieces. And then what I'll do is actually just go through, and we can make 2 at a time, I guess. I don't know if this piece will work. I guess I could use the selvage edge. And we can just make one that's a little bit narrower, like this pink polka dots. Okay. Another thing to note, if your fabric is slightly narrower than your paper clip, cut the base ribbon that you're attaching to be roughly just an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch smaller than your fabric. Okay. So that way the base ribbon isn't hanging out on the sides. Unless that's something that you want, then by all means just cut it that way. So I like just laying things out and seeing how they look. I kind of like this with this red, so I'm just going to snip a piece off. This obviously is not scrap. This is all of my stash of this particular ribbon. But this is my scrap bin. So I'm just gonna lay these aside and go through and kind of pick out some pieces that I think will work. I've been wanting to use this, and I think it would look nice with, since this is such a bright white. This is kind of a go-to. I have tons of this lace, so I try to use up my scraps because I'll always have more. And I just try to pick out like 2 or 3 pieces that look kind of different, I guess, and are in the same color scheme. Kind of nice. Maybe under that. I don't know about that. Okay. So, and normally what I'll do is just layer them up, and I always try to have something across the top, but then I'll run something down the side, which I kind of like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, so I'll probably just cut it right here before the next like pattern starts. So I really like that. That's kind of off frame. There we go. So then I just kind of figure out which way it looks the best. So I think this piece is done as far as like fabric and lace and trim go. I'm gonna move on to my pink polka dots. See how this lace goes. It goes like this. Okay. So since this piece is so narrow, I'm only going to choose 2. Okay. Put all my scraps away. Okay, so now what I do, I just take some white glue, like this is just tacky glue, and I glue just a dot along, and since this is like a sheer lace, it will kind of sink in. So I just put a dot to kind of baste it. Hold everything down while I'm stitching. And obviously you want to let this dry a little bit before taking it to your machine. Also, if you don't have a sewing machine, you can totally still do this. Just glue everything down in place of stitching. So literally just 2 drops, and that's enough to hold the piece in place. And so now I'm gonna flip it over and attach my ribbon. If you want to add any kind of paper ephemera to like a ticket or let's go like this. Now would be the time while you're layering with the glue. So I love using these. They're just tea bags. And so what I'm gonna do is just layer a piece in there. I just like the way it looks, and it adds so much texture and yeah, just extra to to your projects. So I use those a lot, actually. Sorry for gluing on camera. I just feel like the process of gluing these is kind of important. So yeah, this one, probably I'll run a stitch across the top and then down the center here and leave this loose on the edges. Okay. And on this one, I'm not going to add any of this brown. I just feel like it's too different from the colors, like the pink and the white. I am going to pick out a little paper piece. I like that 5-4. I used it already. So these are just little Tim Holtz, I forget what they're called, extras, little ephemera pieces. And I love using them for things like this. And I got them at Hobby Lobby, I think, but you can also buy them at Michael's or obviously online. Let's do this one instead, the pink. And maybe I actually really like that with the pink, and then do this one with the red. So yeah, this is just kind of my tiny ephemera bin. Let's do that one instead. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a drop of glue on each of these and then take them to my machine for stitching, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have stitched these. This one I just went across, down maybe like an inch, and then back up into the little paper pieces to hold those in place. And then this one I went across, back to the center, and then down the middle until about there. So that way all the pieces are stitched together, they're not moving, they shouldn't come off, and also they've been glued. So these should be very durable and not, you know, obviously come apart. So now the very last step is just to attach them to the paper clip. I mean, it's really that easy, and these make like super cute additions to journals or Happy Mails. Yeah, so I just slide it onto the paper clip through, I'll show you, the end that does not have the open part. So I just slide it in between the smaller section and the larger section. And then I'll just flip it over. So that's what it'll look like. And then I just flip it over and run a line of like Fabri-Tac. You can use white glue. I prefer Fabri-Tac. It just sets faster, and I feel like it holds stronger, like if I'm not going back to stitch. So I'll just run a line and close it. Sometimes you have to hold it for a second. So again, super easy project. Hopefully you will make them. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. I try to post once a week videos of either projects like this, actual junk journaling, or flip throughs, or anything that is really junk journal related. So you'll get really a mixed lot of videos from my channel. But that is our finished project for today. Obviously you want to trim the strings. Easy, 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 and super cute. So I'd love to see what you make. If you post a picture of something that you've made with my tutorial, please tag me in it. I'd love to see it. I am dust_2_roses on Instagram. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope you keep creating.